Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy, John Patrick, and we are here for the first episode of Dope Ass Dudes. And I am extremely excited about being here and extremely excited about this platform and where it's going to go. So, just to give you guys a little bit background of what's going to be happening here. So, this is a platform where we'll be highlighting, guys that are doing their thing. They are passionate about their grind, from chefs to life coaches to pastors to musicians, singers, anesthesiologists, all of that. We're going to have it all here, just guys. And there will be times that we will have a couple of daisies on here, some dope ass daisies, but primarily it's for a platform to showcase men that are out doing their thing. So, of course, I'm John Patrick. I'm extremely excited about tonight's podcast because we have dating and relationship coach Jay Christian here with us tonight, and he is going to break down breakups and how you move forward from it, get your power back. And yeah, so I'm really excited about that, and we're going to go ahead and get Jay on in here. Let's get him in here. What up, Jay?
What up? What up, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. And this is like, you are the first. I mean, I couldn't think of anybody else to get on here to do this other than you, man. And I am like extremely excited to have you on here, dude. And it's funny, like we met by chance. It was like both of our podcasts at that time was dealing with liquor and just being true, and we just connected. And ever since then, we just been, it's just been a divine connection. So I'm extremely happy about you being on here tonight. So tell us a little bit about yourself, man, and what's been going on with you.
All right. So I'm Jay Christian. I am the host of the Cognac Room podcast. And I'm also a dating and relationship coach. And that kind of came out of the podcast because it's basically, even though it's called the Cognac Room, it's a relationship podcast. We talk about all the ups and downs, pitfalls, and how to navigate relationships. So, I went and got certified because I had a lot of people asking me a lot of questions. Somehow they valued my perspectives and my insight. So, that's what I'm doing with that. I'm also, I guess, a motivational speaker. I have another podcast called Mind Your Motivation, but, outside of that, that's just what I do, man. I'm a podcaster and a dating and relationship coach.
And that's what's up. And the funny thing is, like, when people hear life coach, they sometimes get it mixed up with therapists. And life coach job is not to fix your life. They are there to help you reach your goals after kind of like you done fixed your life. So it's a little bit of work that has to go into it before you get a life coach. Because like I said, so do you get that a lot? Like, what is a life coach and what is a dating life coach? Do people expect you to fix their life?
Yes, people expect me to fix their life. People expect me to be, like to have it all together and to be perfect. And, there are some people like, well, because of your past or your history, I'm like, man, if anything, that even qualifies me even more. So, things like that. There's definitely a big misconception of what a dating and relationship coach is, or even a life coach, because I've heard people say about, a friend of mine who's actually a dating coach, he's single. So they're like, a single dating and relationship coach? Like, yeah, man, just because he chooses to be single doesn't mean he doesn't know how to have a successful relationship. Well, that's a choice. And part of being aware is knowing what your strong suit is. And if that's being by yourself, then hey, more power to you.
Yeah, and it's strange what you just said about how people tend to put people in boxes because they haven't, gone to certain levels. Like a single person, they want to say, oh, well, you don't know about relationships because you're not married. But for everybody, marriage is not the end goal. And that doesn't mean that they don't know about relationships. And hell, some of those people don't know about relationships because if you did, you wouldn't be married.
Exactly. And the thing is, just because maybe he's single because he knows about relationships.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly,
Oh yeah.
exactly. So, Jay, we're gonna get straight to it. So, you're a dating and relationship coach and everything. So,
Mhm.
tonight I told you like, hey, I want us to talk about breakups, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna let people know I am one of the worst people to break up with, and I don't know if it's like because I'm a Cancer and we love hard and so forth. But when you break up with me, I'm like that dude that I mean, it takes me a lot to kind of like move on. It really does. And I
Gotcha.
know a lot of people are probably shocked at that because I can cut off things kind of easy. But when it comes to love and relationships, I'm normally like the one who get left behind. So
Mm.
what are some of the first mistakes people do when they break up? What are some of the first mistake dumpies? We'll just go
Mhm.
with the
The
dumpies.
dumpies.
Yeah, the
Yes.
dumpies. What are some of the first mistakes they do
One
or
of
make?
the yeah, one of the there's like basically five big mistakes that dumpies make. We'll use that term this evening. And one of them is seeking closure. That's one of the big ones. Um, a lot of times we find ourselves wanting to say, well, hey, I just want to sit down and get a better understanding of what happened between us and so that we can get some closure and move on as friends. That's really a last ditch effort to try and convince someone to continue the relationship in most cases,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because at the end of the day, you don't really like, what is that going to accomplish? Even if you can talk them into getting back with you, they're just gonna eventually break up with you again down the line anyway, and it prolongs the inevitable, and it hurts like hell.
Yeah.
Let's just be real, it hurts like hell. So yeah, that's definitely, it's like it's holding on, grabbing for any little string. It's one of the worst things that you could possibly do, because usually doing this process, you begin to grovel a little bit. Let's just be honest. If you really care about the person, if you really love the person, this is like, this is where you kind of you beg a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been there. I'm telling you, I've been there, and I've said it like, hey, I need some closure. Can we just have one last meeting? Or, some people do it in the term of, well, one last time. Let's just sleep together one last time for closure. And that's the worst thing you can do, because all it's gonna do is dig up every emotion, every mental connection, every memory. Oh my God, it gets ugly. So yeah, that's one of the number one worst things.
So don't try to find closure. Just leave.
Closure came when they told you they didn't want you anymore.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've had to, and it's a popular meme. It's been all over the internet. People have heard it, but I've had to, uh, how's it go? Forgive people who didn't apologize to me. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like I had, my second marriage. It ended badly in the sense that the woman I was married to just stopped talking to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because of I, here's the ironic thing. I didn't do anything to her. I did nothing. I didn't cheat. I didn't beat on her. I did nothing. She left, and she left me in a bad situation, and I moved on, and I was the bad guy, because I was like, hey, I gotta, at that stage in my life, I had to get a roommate. Just so happened
Mm.
that the one that was a roommate that was gonna be there and stay happened to be a female. And it was like,
Mm.
oh, you're disrespectful, and that's it, and I'm never talking to you again. Okay, cool. But you know what I mean? Like, I put myself in a situation where we as partners were gonna be able to hold something down, and then things happen, and then you leave, and then you refuse to come back, and it was whatever. But so I said all that, and I'm open book. I don't mind sharing certain aspects, but
Right.
I said all that to say this: that a lot of times, bro, it's just the way it is. That is the closure. The closure is accepting the fact that, hey, no matter what they say, because if you okay, let's visit a closure meeting. You meet at your favorite restaurant or someplace, right? And you're sitting there and you're saying, hey, I just want to know where I went wrong, what happened. And then they tell you, and then you rebuttal and you say, well, I don't understand. And then if you don't end up arguing, right, you end up acting like it's okay and it's cool. And you walk away having dug up the feelings that were trying to settle. You were trying, because there's certain stages of mourning or breakup that you go through, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you set yourself back. Like if it's been a couple of weeks or something and you've been making a little bit of progress, you're going to set yourself back when you go and try to sit down and have this conversation. So it's not a good look.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold on. We already got a question here. So
Okay.
it says, what about those that have jumped too quickly in a relationship and now they're learning one another day for day to the point where it's more of a struggle, but then again, you're seeking the potential?
Okay. I hate to say this because I believe in things like second chances and potential and all of this, but I'll be honest with you. If you find yourself in a situation like that, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, let's slow it down a bit. Because it's like riding in a car at 200 miles an hour under the influence of alcohol, right?
Yeah.
We're here now. So we could talk about all the ways we could have prevented it by not drinking, by not speeding, by not getting in the car, but we're here now. So the only thing you can do now is say, hey, let's slow it down so we don't crash and burn. And so that's what I would suggest in a situation like that. If you're already there, definitely just slow things down a bit. And that may mean if you've moved in with each other too fast, not, living apart, or if you've become exclusive too fast, slowing that process down, or, just taking more time and saying, hey, you know what? I feel like we moved a little too fast. Let's get to know each other a little bit better and see if we're actually a good fit. And when
Yeah.
you give yourself this type of opportunity or this type of time, what you really end up doing is sometimes you allow yourself to see some things that change your mind. Literally, you're like, as much as I like this person, I don't think this is going to work. And I'm going to take this opportunity to do like this, like they do in church, and ease my way out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So no closure. That's your first point. You said you have five. What else you got for
Okay.
us?
So another one would be checking social media and trying to check up on the ex. That's a big no-no. So let's give a scenario. Johnny and Jamie break up, right?
Yeah.
And uh Jamie is basically like, hey, she dumps him. She's like, look, this isn't working out for me. You're a good guy, and I'd like for us to, possibly stay, not friends per se, but cordial. So we don't have to delete each other or block each other on the socials. But I'm moving on, right? And let's say a month goes by, he's not over it. He decides to check, go over there and creep a little bit. I wonder what she's up to. You go to her page, you see where she's been on a date with some guy. So now here you are, you're supposed to be trying to heal and piece your life back together and go through the process. Like if there are like 5 steps, there like you'll see people that'll talk about 7 steps, 20 steps, or stages. There's really only 5, but they can be broke down into sub stages or whatever. But that's just my opinion. But anyway, so here you are, you're at stage 2 of the breakup, you know what I'm saying, or of recovery, which might be, so there's denial and then there's anger. You're in the anger stage, so you go and you check and you realize, oh my God, she's out on a date with this guy. And so now what you've done is you've set yourself back because now you're like, well, what does he have that I don't have? Or, why is this or that happening? And why is she moving on so soon? And so you start to, it ruins your perspective of who you are. It ruins your healing process. It sets you back. It disrupts your life all over again.
Yeah.
So that's a no-no. It's a no-no to drive by. I'm guilty of this. I've done this. Drive by to see if there's an unidentified car at their place, things like that. These things are only gonna irritate you. They're gonna piss you off. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna trigger you. And you're gonna start grabbing for straws, and you're gonna start blowing up the phone, and you're gonna start doing things that are actually counterproductive to what the outcome you desire anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a horrible mistake to make.
Yeah. So okay, no closure, No social media. Don't stalk on social media. What's
Don't
number
stalk
three?
them. Don't stalk them. Number three is I'm gonna say is holding on to the past or fantasizing about the future. Right. So it's like you're sitting there and you think about like she always or he always, did this, right? And she was always so considerate. Or, she always if she were here right now, you know what I'm saying, she'd be rubbing my back, or I'd be massaging her, or I'd have somebody to watch television with. Oh my God, I love the way she used to, or the way he used to. This is only gonna, like I said, same thing. It's gonna set you back. It's gonna trigger you. It's gonna make you want to reach out, right?
Yeah.
And you're reaching out to somebody. This is what I tell people. A lot of people don't, I don't say they don't understand it, but they don't want to hear it. That person that you are thinking about when you're thinking about all these great times, that's not the person that you fell in love with. That is a different person. You're now dealing with a different version of that individual. And so they're not going to treat you the way that person did, the way they did before, because they're not the same. And this version of that individual doesn't want to be with you.
Mm.
So you're holding on to someone that no longer exists. Literally, they no longer exist. Um, what else? What else? So yeah, that's a big one, because a lot of times I've found that. Have you ever been? I don't know if you've been through this, but I'll ask you: have you ever been going through a breakup, or in a position where you've broken up with someone, someone has broken up with you, and the way they treat you is, it's like, who is this person? Why, I don't even recognize you.
Yeah. 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 I've been there before, man. And I mean, I think you said something so important that they've changed. They're no
They've
longer the
changed.
person that you're in love with. They
That's
are
right.
somewhere completely different because most times they've already checked out. You
Right.
know, you're playing catch up with them. You're playing catch up to them. They've already checked out. So that's why they can say what they say, do what they do, and don't hold you in any regards because they've already moved on. They're different. You're in love with, and
With
you
a
said this, a
ghost.
ghost. Yeah, you said that before. You're in love with the ghost. The person that you love is someone they're not. But it's
Right.
hard to get to that place to really realize that. And I know
Right.
you said that maybe they shouldn't hold on to the memories, but depending on how long you've been there in that relationship, how long do you think they should hold on to that? You know, what is like a point where it's like you should be over this, and not even so
Mm.
much over it, but you should be at a place that you can accept the breakup
Right.
and move on. What do you, I mean,
There,
how long do you think
yeah.
that takes?
There's no timetable. It differs for everybody. But there's work you can do. There's steps you can take to accelerate the process. Right. So acceptance is the final stage of mourning a breakup. That's the last thing. Once you reach the stage of acceptance, now you're actually ready to move on to you're basically damn near through the healing process. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And you're ready to move on to whatever life has next for you. But there's a lot of work that takes place between the stages of denial and acceptance, because you have to go through denial, you go through anger, you go through the bargaining process, and then you go through a deep depression. You know what I'm saying? And then you finally reach the acceptance process. And then once you're there, you can move on. And it looks different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but sometimes, like, I know you wanted to, or you would like to at some point discuss the no contact rule. That's why that's so important, because relapses are real. and and the more you relapse, the more you stunt your progress in the healing process and in
Mm-hmm.
moving on. So yeah, it looks different for everybody. It may take one guy a month. It may take somebody else 10 years. It just depends on how much they relapse, and how they do the work, and how consistent we are. Because
Yeah.
a large part of what keeps us chasing behind that person that no longer wants to be with us is the fact that we don't think we'll ever find anything better or anything as good. And so that's why a lot of self-reflection and a lot of self-care and learning to love yourself again, that's why that's so vitally important, because you begin to realize who you are, and what you have to offer. and you realize that, hey, anyone would be lucky to have him.
Exactly. And most times in those type of situations, when you really reflect back on it and you think like, hey, I won't find nobody as good as they were, but you were even in a different place at that time. So those things
That's
that
right.
they did back then wouldn't work for the person you are today. They wouldn't work
Exactly.
for who you are. But we, like you said, we hold on to the memories, to the good times. And I get it. I've been there. Like I said, I'm one of the
Yeah.
worst people to break up with because it takes a long time for me to get to that acceptance point. And I'm glad you brought that out, because acceptance don't mean that you are like over the person. Acceptance
No.
just mean you accept the reality that we're not going to be together. There's no chance for you and me, and I'm going to move forward.
Right. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. And in reality, like a lot of times, I feel like if you truly, this is my personal opinion, I feel like if you ever truly loved someone, you will never not love them, but you will possibly love them. No, you will definitely love them differently. You know what I mean? I like to use the example of my first ex-wife, man. She was my wife and I loved her as a wife. Now I love her as family because she's the mother of my child.
Mm.
So I could never stand by and watch someone disrespect or mistreat her. And if she ever needed anything, I'd be there to help as a family member, the same way you would love a sister, or the same way you know what I mean?
Now,
For me.
do you think your daughter has that level of compassion and empathy that you would help her? Like, if she wasn't the mother of your daughter, do you think you would still have that? If she needs me, I'm here to help her. Because that's another
Mm,
bad thing about me.
yeah.
If I don't have those attachments, once I'm done with you,
And
I'm
that's how
done.
I am. That's how I
Yeah,
am. Once I'm done, I'm done.
I'm
Like
done.
literally, it takes me a long time. Like you said, it takes me a long time to get there. But once I get there, Jesus and all the angels in heaven couldn't bring me back.
Oh no.
You
Yeah,
understand?
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely. So with her, I would say that my daughter definitely is the glue there, and it's the weight that keeps it that way. But like, I'll give you another example. I have another ex that dumped me, and but
Mm,
rightfully so. I did a lot of things that were worthy of being dumped, right?
yeah.
But to this day, we're still very cordial. I'd like to consider us still friends. Um, and we don't talk every day on a regular basis, but there are occasions where we have little quick conversations or whatever. Hey, how's the family? Whatever, blah blah. Things like that. Or if it's like, hey, I need a particular service. Do you know anyone that works on air conditioners or whatever it may be?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I'm at that stage where I would never be in a relationship with her again. But because it wasn't a bad breakup, and because there's still a degree of love there, like friendship, then yeah,
Okay. So that's good, because someone asked that. Is a friendship possible after a breakup?
absolutely.
Okay.
But
Now, do
only
you?
after only it I it should only be embarked upon after both parties have healed and moved on for real.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Not like we break up today and we want to continue. We just want to get rid of the intimacy, but we
Mhm.
just want to be friends. That can't. Do you think that can work?
It can work depending on the individuals involved.
Yeah. Okay.
But generally speaking, it doesn't work
Hmm.
because most people don't don't do well with that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a tough one, because I think a lot of people, they do want to be continue to be your friend. They want to, because on the core, at the core of you, you're a good person. But like you said, you have to take that time away to process everything, heal from it, and then both people got to be willing to come back to that situation. I don't care how good you think they are as a friend, they may not think you're good as a person and may not want to deal with you. So that's a gamble you have
Exactly.
to take.
Exactly. And then
Yeah.
too, I mean, I'll be honest, when this type of a situation occurs, you still deal, if you do it too soon, you still deal with things like when you see them moving on with someone else, that's still some pain there. It could set you back in your healing. And even for because it's a popular opinion that if they broke up with me, then they're cool and they're okay with it. But sometimes I've had situations where women had to break up with me for their own mental health,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just being honest
Yeah.
because, and for their own sexual health, because I may have been out here doing weird stuff, with other women or whatever. And so it hurt them just as much as it hurt me, but they had to put themselves first.
Yeah. 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 That's good. Okay. So what's your next point?
All right. So my next point would be moving on too soon, right? Not good. So I tell people all the time that you have to get back on the horse, so to speak. You have to get back out there. You have to start mingling and everything else. But if you do it too soon and you haven't completed the healing process, then what happens is you can't give the best version of yourself to someone else because you're broken, you're wounded, you're hurt, and you're it's a rebound relationship. Honestly, when you move on too fast trying to get over a breakup, that's the worst thing you could do. You need to actually take some time to heal, some time to rebuild your life, feel better about who you are, because when your self-esteem takes a hit like that, you are more subject to just settling for whatever and making a bad decision, and it just creates a perpetual cycle of just insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So what is too soon? 3 weeks? Is that too soon to move on?
I would say that 3 weeks is too soon to be trying to be in a relationship with someone. Is 3 weeks too soon to start meeting people? I wouldn't say it is, but see, here's where people mess up, in my opinion. We go out and have some fun, meet new people, and we turn that into, I met this awesome girl or this awesome guy, I want to see what's up with them. No, you're not ready for that.
Yeah.
You can befriend them, and you can maintain a friendship for a season. And if they're available and ready, and you're available and ready in the process of time, then by all means, if you want to pursue something. But rushing into that is just not, it's not a good look for you. And it sets you up to actually hurt and wound others.
Yeah.
Because here's this person who's gone through their breakup. They've been single for a season. They're ready to love, and here you come with your chinked, beat up armor and your this virus, right?
Yeah.
And you contaminate them, and you ruin them, and now they're back to square one. Like, it's just not fair. It's not a
Yeah.
good look.
Yeah. And then I think too, another danger of like dating too quickly. Like if you're gonna start dating, make sure your relationship that you just got out of is truly over.
Yes,
Because what happens if you circle back, you bringing that baggage back into that relationship. And I get people say, well, we weren't together, so it don't matter. But to some people, it matters. So you have to know who your mate is. And if you're going to break up with them and you're going to start dating, make sure there's kind of like no possibility for you to circle back. Because all of that stuff you did while you was out single, everybody's not going to be willing to forgive you for all of this
absolutely.
stuff. So
And
yeah,
you know what? Not only that, but also, like, you haven't had time to really reflect fully on your past relationship and understand what went wrong, what part you played in the madness, right? Even if
yeah,
even if it wasn't a bad breakup, you played a role. Like when people say, "Oh, it was all them," or it was all, like, even though I said I didn't do anything, I didn't. I didn't do anything to in that situation I was telling you about with my ex-wife. I didn't do anything to provoke the breakup, but I could have handled things differently. I
right,
could have responded differently, right?
right,
So it's easy to say, well, hey, they broke up with me, but you have to look back and say, well, what part did I play in this relationship that led up to this? Because here's the thing. Had I not allowed certain things in the beginning or in the middle of the relationship, things wouldn't have ended the way that they did.
mm-hmm.
Had I played it smarter in the beginning, I wouldn't have even ended up married to this woman to end up where I ended up. So, and that's one of the things about being a relationship coach, bro. You're trying to help your clients to self-reflect and to see who they are and what they've done and how they've played, what part they played in whatever situation. And you help them to understand and to implement the tools they need to grow from the experience and become a better version of themselves.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So okay, so I know you said five. So what's number five? What's the fifth thing that you believe, fifth mistake you believe dumpies make when they
Yeah.
come out of a relationship?
Trying to stay in contact with the person, which kind of goes into like, because when we try to stay in contact with an ex, we're setting ourselves up, man.
Right.
We're setting ourselves up until now there is a window. There is a point at which you can do it and it can be a healthy thing. Like I've had a situation, the same ex I'm telling you about, where where me and my lady were able to go and visit with her at a function at her home, and she was able to come to our home. And I hear so many people, especially our people, say, that ain't gonna happen. That's weird. I don't know where they do that at and all of this stuff. But there's a certain level of maturity and healing and closure, okay,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
required to happen before anything like that can happen. So, she's still single and trying to get past the relationship. He's still single and trying to get past the relationship, but y'all want to stay in contact. Bad is bad because on the lonely nights, I'm gonna call you and you may be lonely. And so we may have a conversation and that gives me false hope, right? That we'll
Yeah.
be able to get back together, or I'm drunk dialing, or I'm coming over. And in some instances, I'll go over and we'll sleep together because she's in a moment of weakness. I'm in a moment of desperation and weakness. And then tomorrow she realizes like that was cool, but I still don't want a relationship. And now here I am standing with my heart in two pieces, begging, like, why? I thought, what happened? And I mean, I'm sure that everyone who's been through a breakup at either on either end of the breakup can relate to what I'm saying. It's real. It happens all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny how you mentioned about the no contact, because there are, like, if you look on YouTube or whatever, there are books and tons of videos about the no contact rule. And pretty much, though, in those situations, they're encouraging you to do the no contact rule to get your ex back. And I think
Yeah.
no contact
That's
is cool. You should do the no contact. But once you get to that place that, like you said, the acceptance part, when you walk away from your ex, don't do the whole no contact to get them back, because all
right.
you're doing is still chaining yourself to
To
them.
that person.
Yeah, you're chaining yourself to that person. So
And
the no con
inevitably they're gonna dump you again.
they're going to dump you again. They're
Yeah.
going to dump you again. They're going to
Yeah.
dump you again. So if you are out there doing the no contact rule, do it because you want to move on from that person, not because you're trying to get them. Because you might as well, like, just go knock on their door and just ask them back, because you're still chained to this person. You're not
Right.
moving forward. You're not moving on. So, yeah.
Yeah. And the power of the no contact rule, because okay, I had a client and I know he won't mind me saying this. I had a particular client because I've asked him if I could share parts of his story, and he was like, man, whatever. But I had a client. I told him I said, man, what you have to do at this stage is stop calling, stop texting, stop driving by, just act like she doesn't exist. Find something to do with your time. You know what I'm saying? Take care of you. This is what he said to me. He said, I'm afraid that if I don't contact her, that she won't contact me, and she'll feel like because I'm not contacting her that I'm okay and I'm cool and I don't want to be with her, and she'll just move on. And I had to tell him some very painful news. I said, man, if she wants to talk to you, she knows where to find you. If a person wants to talk to you, if a person wants to talk to you, they're gonna contact you.
Yeah.
If they don't contact you, they don't want to talk to you. So keep it pushing. And I know that's hard. It's hard to hear, it's hard to say, it's hard to do. But when you understand it for what it really is, because here's the thing. If you run behind them and you chase behind them and you grovel and they eventually talk to you, you have diminished whatever little respect they had left for you. It's gone. But when you don't contact them, when you say, okay, it's over, you don't want to talk, that's what it is, then they'll be like, you know what, I hadn't heard from so-and-so. Then another week goes by, well, I heard from them. Like, what's going on? Did they really? And so it's like, well, I want to talk to them. Then if they contact you, if you want to talk to them, then by all means talk to them. But here's the thing. Don't answer on the first ring. I suggest, and I know that people say, well, that's playing games. It's not, because life is life, and life is based on strategy. Like, if you anyone who approaches life without strategy, I promise you, nothing ever good happens to them
Yeah.
unless they're just lucky as all get out, right? Like, they don't succeed. It's hard to succeed in anything without a strategy. So I suggest, like, hey, it's cool if they call and you want to talk, that's fine. If you miss the call or whatever, if they text you, you don't have to text back before the damn text has completely come through your phone. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
And
okay,
don't
I see
give
that
in so easily, because that's one
so
mistake
easily.
that I
That's the
make.
biggest mistake. You can't.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to, because anything that comes easy isn't valued. So you have to make them work for your attention. And when I say for your attention, I'm talking about even something as simple as a return text.
Yeah.
Double
Yeah.
texting is a no-no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you text them, they hadn't responded, but you text them again. No, that's a no-no. If we're on in that situation, we're broken up, you don't want to speak, you haven't been talking, it's been 2-3 weeks, now you finally reach out and text. I'm not going to text you within the same 30 seconds that I saw your text message. That's not going to happen. And it's not that I'm playing games, but at the end of the day, I have to have some respect for myself.
Yeah.
And I have
Yeah.
to show you that I'm worthy of your respect. Like, I can't get your respect by just being putty in your hands. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. And the people that are out there, because like I said, I've done this, and Jay, you just said you've done it too. We go through that phase when it's fresh, that we
Mm-hmm.
do feel poor about ourselves. We feel pathetic because we are doing things that are not us. We're doing
Right.
things that we know is not the right thing to do. But you go through that phase, and
Mm-hmm.
you eventually get stronger. So just continue to push through it. Don't
Yeah,
beat yourself down, because the more you beat yourself down, the more you're going to continue to do that.
that's
So you
right.
got to, yeah, you'll get through it.
Yeah.
But Jay, we do have a question for you.
Okay, let's go.
It's from Carolyn, and she says, "What happens when the self-reflection doesn't manifest change?"
Mm. Lord have mercy. Okay.
She went to church on you, boy.
She went to church
Manifest.
on me. So here's what I'll say. Self-reflection in and of itself doesn't manifest change. You have to do some work. You have to, it's called discipline. So your natural inclination will be to do what you've always done. Discipline says, I'm going to resist the urge to do what I would normally do, and I'm going to do what I know I should do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. I've always been the one to run behind this person, or reach out to this person, or try to contact this person and make things right. So that's my natural impulse. That's who I am as a person. I'm the person that feels like, whether I'm in the right or wrong, I should fix it. I want to get past the problem and get to the peace, right? So once I have the different mindset, I have to exercise discipline. I have to say, as much as I want to call, as much as I want to make peace or whatever, as much as I want to progress things forward, I have to resist that temptation. Mm-hmm. Now, how do I do that? Right? I have to occupy my time with something else. So I have to figure out, or I have to go back to some things that I love, or I have to figure out things that I love, which it's a journey, and you learn things about yourself, and you'll learn things about yourself that you never even knew. Like, you pick up a book and start reading, and before you know it, you're like, I'm an avid reader. I love to read. Never knew it until I went through this breakup. Or maybe you have a business you want to start or whatever, but not to get too far off. It definitely, just knowing that there needs to be a change is not enough. Acknowledging that change has to happen is not enough. You have to actively resist the temptation, resist the urge to do what you've always done, regardless of, no matter what that is. If it's different things for different people, not necessarily saying during the breakup, but even sometimes in a relationship. If you're a guy that's always wanted to fix the woman's problems, but she doesn't want you to fix her problems, she just wants you to be a sounding board, then you have to resist the urge to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be honest with you, most times in breakups, when you do take a moment to do some self-reflecting, that is somewhat of a change manifesting, because
It
normally
is.
in breakups, we are so consumed with the person that dumped us.
Mm-hmm.
We everything we wake up, we eat and breathe all day long. Them, what, how can we get them back?
Mm-hmm.
So to sit down and just say, well, let me see not what caused the problem,
Mm-hmm.
but how can I be better? Just doing that, or what
That's
keeps
right.
drawing me to that person. You've changed that's a manifestation of change
Yeah.
right there,
That's
because
the
you are
beginning.
shifting. That's the
That's
beginning.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not looking for a change in them, you're looking for a change in you. And that's something that a friend just told me recently. When you come out of a breakup, you the person that's always saying, well, I'm going to give them space. No, you don't give them space. You
Give
give
yourself some
yourself
space.
space. You give
Mm-hmm.
yourself some space to move forward, to come up, like you said, come up with these things that can better you and improve you. You don't give them space because they're making decisions without regarding you at all. So you have to start following their lead and making decisions without them. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And that's the whole thing, bro. Like self-care isn't selfish, but it's selfish. You know what I mean? Like self-care is about you. That's what I mean. Self-care isn't selfish, but it's about you. And so just like you said, bro, like when you give them space, you're doing that for you. Like, even though you're saying, well, they don't want to talk. So, but you're going to be the one who benefits from that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jay, do you think they always come back? Is that something you tell people? They always come back. Do you think they always come back?
Yes and no. So I'll explain what I mean by that. Um, they always come back to see how you are or to see what's going on. But I've noticed, and I can only speak from my own personal experience. I will only speak from my own personal experience about this matter. Every ex that I've ever had, whether I dumped them or they dumped me, has always come back. Some hadn't come back till 5, 6 years later, but then there was always that text, "Hey Jay, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine, doing this, doing that." And then before, by the end of the conversation, you realize, oh, they're single and they're thinking about you and they wanted to see if maybe things were different now. So there's a lot of truth to that they always come back, but they don't necessarily always come back to engage in a relationship with you.
Right.
Sometimes they just come back because they think about you and they want to see how you are.
Yep. Yep. So, what else you got for us? So, um, those are the five mistakes, and you said the whole no contact rule. You believe that that is beneficial.
I believe it's very beneficial for you and the other party. Yep.
Yep. And so, how do you get your power back? Because
Mhm.
normally when you have a breakup, we go through, and like I said, I've gone through this before too, where my self esteem is shot, man. That
Mhm.
relationship, especially when you've taken time and, like you said, you're begging and you're pleading and all this other kind of stuff, your self esteem is like low as crap.
Yeah.
And you're beating yourself up constantly, and nothing seems to be working right. So how do someone get their power back after a breakup?
Okay. There are a lot of different ways to do this, but I want to share a scenario with you. I think we've all heard about this. Have you ever heard a lot of women admit it? I think men are less likely to admit it sometimes, but a lot of women actually admit it. Have you ever found yourself in a situation or heard someone say that they were in a situation where I was laying out on the floor and I was crying and snotting everywhere and I was, Lord, why me? And I was rolling around and then something clicked in my head and said, what are you doing?
Mm.
Right? That's one of the major ways. That's the beginning of that. You know what I'm saying? That's the beginning of that. Because you start to at that moment, you can really be real and you see what things for what they are. And you're like, hey, I got to get this together. Like, what is going on with me? So that's one of the major ways. I see we have a question. What's that?
Oh no, that was just someone commenting on something that was said.
Yeah, work on yourself. Self-care is important. Yeah, I agree 100%. And that's what I was going to say. Like, you definitely have to work on you. You got to fall in love with you. You got to fall in love with life. You got to fall in love with the world again. Like, that's how you get your power back. For me, when you realize, in my opinion, when the moment you realize you have your power back is when you can walk out of your house with your head held high, and you can have a positive outlook on life, and you're not thinking about what's behind you, right?
Mm.
And the journey there may not look the same for everybody, but I'm telling you, hang out with your friends and people that are close to you, people that love and care about you, right? Uh, Start taking care of yourself. Be that fitness, be that, going on dates by yourself. I encourage people to do that. Like, I do that. Like, even if you're married, you should still go on mini dates by yourself and just spend time with yourself, getting acquainted with yourself, and talking to yourself, and just enjoying being with yourself, because that's so important. Um, what else? If
But
you
Jay,
if
what
you
if they don't like themselves at that point? Because when you come
Right,
out of
yeah,
breakup, you don't like you
yeah,
ain't trying to deal with you.
yeah,
Or you have a struggle getting up, getting dressed,
right.
going out.
It goes back
So
to
what
right.
happens? What do they do then?
No, it goes back to discipline. Like, watch, okay, we've all seen the romance movies where the guy or the girl wants to sit in the house in their robe, hadn't shaved, hadn't done their hair, hadn't bathed, right? And then that friend comes over and is like, I don't care. You're gonna get up, you're gonna get out of here, you're gonna go out, and then you see the slow progression, they start to get better. So you have to force yourself, but there's a grieving process. And sometimes you just gotta grieve. Sometimes you may have to lay in the bed for 2 to 3 weeks after you go to work and come. Man, I told y'all on one of my episodes, I think you may have heard this one. I was going through a breakup, and I would literally go to work, and every single day I would come home and shower and get in my bed and cry like a baby, cry myself to sleep. Like, I'm talking like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm home in the bed crying and go to sleep. I'm asleep by like 5:30 because I've cried all my strength away. Right?
Wow, wow,
No, I'm serious, man. And this went on for weeks. And then, like, one of my buddies just was like, "Hey man, come hang out." And I was like, "I don't feel like." He's like, "Man, you've been in the house, just come hang out." Went out and hung out a little bit, but I had to do it when I was ready. I had to do it when I was ready. So you may have to grieve, and there's nothing wrong with that. I want people to understand that there's nothing wrong with grieving. If you start having thoughts of doing harmful things to yourself, then I suggest you get
yeah,
some therapy.
yeah,
You get with somebody. You got to work. You got to acknowledge that, and you got to get that under the wraps, but under control. But allow yourself to feel that pain. Allow yourself to cry. Allow yourself to mourn. When people die, you have to mourn before you can get better. It's the
yeah,
same with relationships. It's like an entity died, so you have to go through that process.
yeah. And that is so true. You have to grieve that relationship. You have to
Absolutely.
grieve it, and you have to take that time. And I think what most people think is they have people in their head and they're telling them, well, you should be over this. It's a week, doesn't pass. And they're like, well, you should be over, or 2 weeks. No, you
No.
take as much time as you need to process it. But that doesn't mean laying in the bed and just crying all day about it. You're going to go
You're
through that
right.
stage where you cry. You're going to
Right.
go through that stage. You cry, you get it out, and then you'll graduate to the point where maybe you're laying in the bed, but you're listening to motivational things, or you're
Mm-hmm.
listening to sermons that is encouraging you. And
Yeah.
then you'll graduate to reading books and getting out and all that.
Yeah.
But whatever your process is, take your time in doing it. Don't rush, and don't allow people to tell you, oh, you should be over that by now. Now, you
No.
only dated this dude for 6 months. Now, you still laying in the bed in a month. Shoot, you call me, I'm gonna cuss you out and tell you to get your butt up.
But here's the thing, and people, I think a lot of people don't realize this. Like, sometimes it's cool. I had my very first client. Like, I literally became a certified coach on like a Tuesday, and on Wednesday, my first client was like, "Hey, I need your help." Because she knew who I was, she knew what I was doing, and she's like, "Okay, listen, now you I need your help." So she was grieving, she was going through something, and she enlisted me, and I helped her through that. Like, today, I promise you, today this woman is full of joy. She's out and about having a great time with her friends. She's got like a couple of candidates, and she's just like, "Hey, I ain't rushing into nothing, man." You know what I'm saying? And she's
Yeah,
happy. She's
yeah,
happy. So, I think people underestimate the power of some type of counseling or some type of coach when you're stuck in that.
Yes. I'm, confession, I've done. I mean, on your job, people, you got EAP. Take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Most
Yeah.
companies, they give you like 8 free sessions. Take advantage, get a counselor, get out there, talk to
That's
somebody.
right.
If you do not feel comfortable with talking to the people that are in your circle,
That's
if you
right.
don't feel like that, feel comfortable doing that, get someone, talk to anybody just to get out that rut.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what it's a moment in your life. It's not your life, it's just a moment. If you make it through it, when you make it through it, you're gonna
When
be
you
fine.
make it through it. That's the thing. Because I'm telling you, man, I have been in situations, and we've spoken, some of the situations I've been in. I've been in situations where I didn't I didn't think my heart would keep beating. I didn't think I was going to make it through that stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly. And I look back on it now and I kind of laugh like man, I thought that was it. I thought that was the end with that. And then when I really look back at it and I realize what had me tied or had me attached was like the most trivial or foolish stuff.
Yeah.
It was because she was so pretty and everybody always congratulated me on how beautiful she was. Really?
Yeah.
I'm putting myself through all of this because of a trophy? Because of someone that I treated like come on, that's foolish. Or because it was like, oh, well, she was amazing in bed. Well, guess what? There are women out here that are better than her in bed. Like it just, you have to put things in perspective is what it all comes down to, is perspective.
Yeah, because in most times, and someone recently told me this here, most cases we get love and loss confused. So
Yeah.
we're fighting. We think we're fighting for love, but we're fighting for either the loss of control, the loss of what we're familiar with,
That's
the
right.
loss of somebody had paying for our bills, and like you said, we're going through all this unnecessary drama. And it's really not even love, but you never know this until you step out of the situation and you can look at it for what it really is. Sometimes
what it really is.
Just step back and look at it and ask yourself, hey, is this really love I'm fighting for? Or is this what I'm fighting for?
And sometimes it's ego. Like, I know a woman who wasn't really into this guy, but because he was doing what he did for her for someone else, now it was a problem. Now she felt something. It's not about him. It's about now he's not going to do it for me, but he's going to be over here doing it for her. And my ego is bruised. And so, that sort of thing. Like I told you, I had a young lady that fought to get me back just because I shut it off. I shut it down. And she was like, once she got me back, which was relatively easy for her at that particular time, she told me, she said, I really don't want this relationship, but it was an ego thing. I was like, yeah, I can't. He don't want me. What?
Yeah.
So, and that's a real thing. It happens.
Yeah, and shout out to Capetra. She said something earlier. This was really good in regards to checking social media. She said, it's like being hurt after choosing to stab yourself. You should have never looked. That is so good. So people don't look at when I break up, I don't look, I unfriend you because I don't want to be tempted to look at your stuff. And now how social media is, they'll show up, you'll see their story up on top. And then before you know, you done clicked on, I don't want to know nothing going on with you.
Yeah.
I don't want to see how happy you are without me. No.
Is because here's the thing too. You got to understand, this is a highlight reel.
Yep.
They're they're curating what they're giving you.
Yep.
So you see the flowers and you see the big trip. But you don't see the damn the scratching and biting that went on the night before.
Yep.
Right? Yep. So yeah, you can't, that's not even a good gauge anyway.
Nah. So Jay, how can people find you?
Okay.
Where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at the Cognac Room Podcast. Me and Petra's actually my co-host. One of my co-hosts is her and Lyric Marie, and or Lyrical Truth. I'm sorry. And
she gonna get you, boy.
Well,
yes and no. Like name, she getting
no.
You,
that's man. So they're both her name, but if you're looking for her on Instagram, it's Lyrical Truth. But But yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at the Cognac Room Podcast. You can find me on Facebook at the Cognac Room Podcast. And you can find me on Twitter at the Cognac Room Podcast. You can also find me at Jay Christian, Mind Your Motivation, which is the motivational podcast. Um, People have been saying that they want me to create a page, like a relationship and dating coach page.
Nice.
And I may do that, but we'll see.
Nice. Now, this is what's up. This is why I had Jay on here. Of course, he is a dope ass dude. So now you guys see why I had this brother on here. Has spit out a lot of knowledge. And Jay, thank you for coming on here, dude, and being the first guest on the podcast. This is history right here, man. So thank you for doing that. That is what's up. Thank everybody for listening in. And if you really, really enjoyed this podcast tonight, please, once this podcast is loaded up on YouTube, please share it on your pages. Go follow Jay. Go follow the Dope Ass Dude podcast. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, not on Facebook, so TikTok and Instagram. So go ahead and do that. And then now that I know I got a little audience, I'm gonna stop doing shirtless pictures and setting up thirst traps to get some viewers and all this other kind of stuff. So now I can just keep my clothes on and go back to normal with my peace sign. But yeah, y'all go check Jay out, following him. And again, shout out to Jay for doing this here and everybody that watched tonight. So make sure you share it. All right, then. That's a wrap, guys. Peace.